One question, one story, one continent. This is your podcast, Africa Daily, with me, Alan Kasuja. Podcasts from the BBC World Service are supported by advertising.
Hi, this is Benjamin from podcasts They Walk Among Us and They Walk Among America. I'm here to tell you about Shudder. Looking for a good scare? Come experience what Polygon calls a horror movie paradise. Stream anticipated new releases like Superhost, Seance starring Suki Waterhouse, and the Boulet Brothers' Dracula. Plus, don't miss out on Creepshow, Slasher, Flesh and Blood, and other must-see exclusives you won't find anywhere else. Available ad-free and on the platforms you're already on. Sign up today at shudder.com. Shudder. So good it's scary.
When you hear that sound against the window, what's your reaction? Maybe you groan. You're so looking forward to going out for a walk today. Maybe you embrace the chance to stay in, watch movies and snuggle up. Or maybe you smile, perhaps. Where you are, rain is a special occasion. But if you're a farmer in Africa, well, rain takes on a whole new level of meaning. Farmers totally rely on rain to grow their crops and make a living. And because of climate change, that's getting more and more difficult. You see, when I was a kid, we'd know exactly when the rains were going to hit, and farmers would know exactly the right time to plant their crops. Now, well, it's not so easy. The rainy season has got a lot more unpredictable. Sometimes it's too much rain, we end up with floods. Sometimes it's too little, and we have to deal with drought. Which means it's become a lot more difficult to grow the continent's usual crops like maize. That's why scientists have been developing new varieties of seeds. They're hoping these will be more resilient to climate change and help make sure the continent doesn't go hungry. So, is it working? And will it be enough? Can African farmers adapt to a changing climate? I'm Alan Kasuja, and this is Africa Daily.
Over the last 10-15 years, we have seen a big change.
Thus, Dr. Rebi Harawa, she's Regional Director for the International Crops Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics, or ICRISAT for short. 20
years ago, a farmer who is here in Kenya, they would know the long rains, they come in March. They would prepare the land, and surely the rains will come and they'll plant. And they'll be assured that whatever crop they plant, it will be raining for 3-4 months and they'll harvest. Those days are gone.
If you're a fan of Africa Daily and you've got a really good memory, this might all sound familiar. Way back in January, we reported about how African farmers were tackling climate change. We spoke to Dr. Lindiwe Sabanda, one of the people leading the Global Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture. She explained how this changing rainy season is impacting farmers' lives.
You have no insurance, you're financing from remittances, or you're financing from the income from previous season, and all that is written off. All that has implications in terms of a farmer farming for business. We have not adapted in the sense that we know that climate change is real, it's happening now. If we do not adapt by investing in technologies that will mitigate against climate change, we will forever be crying about the impact of climate change.
We also spoke to Vanda Solange Cabral, a smallholder farmer in Malawi.
I was actually practicing the traditional way of farming, which was just I'll go to the farm on the weekends and I'll have a few guys to plow using their hose. We get water from the river and use water cans. And I kept saying, this thing is not working. And then I went to China to buy house furniture, and I came across also by luck a few greenhouses. We had to make a decision to say, do you want a greenhouse or you want furniture? And I said, let's buy this greenhouse, because I don't think with climate change and the way the labor intensivity in the farm is, I think a greenhouse will be the way to go.
You go out to buy furniture and you turn up with a greenhouse. Wow.
Yes. To add on to that, I also started knowing more about technology. And I then went into hydroponics, which is growing of vegetables without soil. It's a very sophisticated way of farming.
Thing is, if you're a smallholder farmer living hand to mouth, like the vast majority are, you can't afford all this fancy equipment, right? And you definitely can't afford to go all the way to China to buy it. That's when these new varieties of seeds, or to use the technical term, legumes, might come in handy. ICRISAT has just won the Africa Food Prize for the work they've been doing on the project, which started in 2007. And fair play to them, because it seems to have had a real impact. Here's Dr. Harawa again.
We have been able to breed varieties that can grow for a short period of time. So now farmers are rushing for them, because these are varieties that they can still harvest even when you have erratic rains. So now the attitude is really changing, that farmers are demanding for these improved varieties.
So when we talk about new varieties, what are we talking about? What do you take into account when introducing a variety to a farmer?
Most of the traditional varieties, their yields are very low. For example, if you take pigeon pea, a variety that has been grown from the 60s, 70s, if you put it in the field, you find that the yield, you can only harvest half a ton per hectare. The other thing, for crops, most of these, they get affected by pests and diseases for a long time. You see a lot of these insects, in Swahili, they are called dudus. Most of them, they have now gotten used to these old varieties, and therefore they infest on these varieties. So when you are breeding, you want to breed a variety that is going to be tolerant or resistant to pests. Crops like grain legumes, they bring an added value apart from food, apart from being, cash earner, they also add fertility to the soil. So you really want a crop that is going to bring more nutrients to the soil.
ICRISAT has developed hundreds of new varieties of legumes which are now being planted by 25 million farmers across sub-Saharan Africa. 25 million. That's a lot. So let's hear from one of the farmers. This is David Tiroto. He's in Kenya. I started off by asking him what he grows.
I grow maize, sweet potato, and chickpea.
Do you think you've been affected at all by climate change?
Yes. Sometimes there is a severe drought, and that is everything dries up.
So what are you doing to make sure that your farm is protected from the climate change, from the adversity that comes with it?
We mainly wait for just some rain and we plant. And sometimes we wait for the rain. No, we don't have any irrigation, we don't have anything. And that is where you don't have food. But this crop, it cannot dry up completely. Our area is semi-arid, and it is good for this area because it doesn't need much rain. It is good for the health of the family because it is nutritious.
And moving forward, do you think that these new varieties are what you need in order to not only increase your yield, but also to increase your income?
Yes, these two varieties are very good in this area, and we like it. The farmers like it very much.
That's great. But the farmers I know, well, they often find change difficult. After all, farmers in Africa have been growing maize for generations. I put this to Dr. Harawa. You talk about diversification and moving away from just the maize or the corn. Why are people resisting the change, if they are resisting at all? Or why are they finding it difficult to move away from maize, which is more traditional?
Generally, there is an appreciation, even from the farmer's side. They want to make sure that if maize fails, I can still feed my children. So I can eat the beans, I can eat the groundnuts. What is really making the resistance, it's not really the resistance, but the lack of access to the improved seeds. Most of these farmers, if they go to a shop today to buy seed, I can tell you they are going to find several options for maize seed, but not a crop like beans, groundnuts, pigeon peas. So we need to make sure that the seeds are available to the farmers at even an affordable price. Make them available in a small pack that a farmer who has half a hectare of land can be able to afford and grow.
I'm sure one of the driving messages for you, or one of the things you say to them, is the nutritional value that comes with these new varieties, right?
Yes, very important point around groundnuts, beans and common beans. These are high in protein. Not many households will afford protein from meat. There are very few households where people keep livestock. But these crops, they offer the protein that is needed for the growth of children. So the protein really becomes, it's almost like a substitute for the meat. As I said, these crops, they are easily grown around the households. Female farmers, the women can easily get them and bring them to the table when they are fresh, when they are dry. So this becomes the cheapest source of protein. And I believe that really legumes will continue to be an indispensable and cheap source of protein for millions of households in Africa.
And you often work with women, female farmers. Tell me a little bit about why it's important for your work, but also how different or what impact these new crop varieties have had on the female farmers.
Oftentimes in countries in sub-Saharan Africa, you find that at a household, when it comes to agriculture, men would take care of every cash crop, every cash earner. Talk about sugarcane, talk about tea, coffee. These are almost like men's crops. These crops, like legumes, they are now the crop that a woman is basically left with. One, to feed their children, to feed their family, but also to take to the market. So this is basically the best place for a woman to have control. They can be given freedom to grow, to harvest, feed the family. So this is really a typical crop that most women are left with. Most women, they also want to pass this on to their girl child. That when the girl is growing, you should also put a lot of effort in this kind of crops.
Thanks so much, Dr. Harawa and our farmer David, for taking the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it. Africa Dale is a BBC World Service production. My producers today were Rosie Blunt and Richard Moran. Simon Peaks is our editor. The first episode we did on this is called Can African Farmers Beat Climate Change? Take a scroll through our back catalogue and you'll find it there, along with hundreds of other episodes. I'm Alan Kasujja, and you can find me on Twitter. My handle, Kasujja. That's with 2 J's. Bye for now.
If you were to write a letter to your daughter, what would it say? My name is Namulanta Kombo, and I am the winner of the BBC World Service's first international podcast competition. We're creating a handbook to life containing wisdom from people from all over the world, and I need your help. If you were to write that letter, and I hope you do, maybe you tell your daughter a story, tell them about an experience you've had, or give them a piece of advice. You'd explain why the story is important or how your own life has led you to the advice you're giving. You might be passing on wisdom from a long life of experience, or you might want to tell a future daughter about something that's happening right now. So please help us create our handbook to life by writing a letter to your daughter and sending it to us. You can find out more about the podcast and how to send your letter by going to bbcworldservice.com/to-my-daughter. That's bbcworldservice.com/to-my-daughter. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you.